Okay, let's talk about something we don't say out loud. You can sleep with someone, you can be physically intimate, you can share a bed, wake up next to them, do all of that. But the second they ask, "What are you thinking?" or "How are you really feeling?" you freeze. And it's not because you don't trust them. It's not because you don't care. It's because somehow letting someone see your thoughts feels more naked than actually being naked. Physical intimacy? That's easy. You know the steps. You know how it goes. You're in control. But emotional intimacy, that's where you lose control. And that's terrifying. So if you've ever found it easier to hook up with someone than to actually let them in, girl, you're not alone. And there's actual psychology behind why your brain does this. Here's the thing nobody wants to admit. Physical intimacy has rules. It has a script. You know what's expected. You know when it starts, when it ends, what comes next. And yeah, you're vulnerable, but it's a controlled vulnerability. You can turn the lights off. You can keep certain walls up. You can be physically close to someone without actually letting them see you. But emotional intimacy, that doesn't have a script. There's no roadmap, no clear beginning or end. It's just raw, unpredictable, uncomfortable. And here's what makes it even scarier. When you're physically intimate with someone, you can walk away and nothing about you has really changed. But when you open up emotionally, when you share the real stuff, your fears, your insecurities, the thoughts you have at 3 a.m. that you don't tell anyone, that changes you. Because now someone else knows, and you can't take that back. You ever notice how easy it is to be flirty, playful, even sexual with someone you barely know? Like, you'll make out with someone at a party, you'll text them late at night, you'll hook up. But the second they start asking real questions, what's your family like? What are you scared of? Why do you do that thing where you pull away? You shut down. Not because you don't know the answers, because you do. And that's the problem. Physical intimacy is surface level, even when it doesn't feel like it. You're giving someone access to your body, but not your mind, not your heart, and your brain knows that. So it feels safer. But emotional intimacy? That's giving someone access to the parts of you that you've spent years protecting. The parts you don't even like looking at yourself. And that's terrifying. Let me ask you something. What scares you more? Someone seeing you naked or someone seeing you cry? If you said the second one, you already know what I'm talking about. Because physical vulnerability is temporary. You can hook up with someone, and in the morning, you get dressed and you're back to being whoever you were before. But emotional vulnerability, that sticks. Once someone sees you break down, once they see you anxious or insecure or spiraling, they know. And you can't unshow them that. There's this thing psychologists talk about called fear of judgment. And it's not just about what other people think of you. It's about what you think they'll think once they know the real you. You ever start to open up to someone and then halfway through, you just stop? Like you're telling them about something that hurt you or something you're struggling with, and mid-sentence you think, wait, this is too much. I sound crazy. I need to stop. So you laugh it off. Make a joke. Change the subject. Because what if they think you're too much? Too emotional? Too broken? What if they see the messy parts and decide you're not worth it? And here's the thing. Physical intimacy doesn't come with that risk. Someone can see your body and still not know you. But emotional intimacy? That's letting someone see the parts of you that you're not even sure are okay. The parts you've been told are too sensitive, or overthinking, or dramatic. And if they reject that, that's not just rejection. That's confirmation of the thing you've been scared of all along, that the real you isn't enough. So yeah, it makes sense that you'd rather keep it surface level. It makes sense that you'd rather hook up with someone than tell them what you're actually feeling. Because at least with physical intimacy, you're still safe. Here's what nobody tells you. Physical intimacy gives you control. Even when it feels vulnerable, you're still calling the shots. You decide when, you decide how far, you decide when it's over. But emotional intimacy, you can't control that. You can't control how someone reacts when you tell them you're struggling. You can't control whether they judge you or get it. You can't control if they'll use what you said against you later. And that lack of control, that's what makes it so scary. Because here's the truth. Most of us have been burned before. You told someone something real, something vulnerable, and they either didn't get it, didn't care, or worse, used it against you. So now, you've learned. You've learned that being emotionally open is a risk. And not everyone deserves that access. And honestly, that's smart. But here's where it gets complicated. You've gotten so good at protecting yourself that now, even when someone is safe, even when they genuinely care, you still can't let them in. Because your brain is in defense mode. It's like, we've been hurt before, we're not doing this again. So you keep it light, you keep it fun, you keep it physical. Because that's the only intimacy that doesn't require you to risk being hurt. And I get it, I really do. It's easier to be desired than it is to be known. It's easier to be wanted for what you look like than for who you actually are. Because if someone rejects your body, whatever, plenty of people will be attracted to you. But if someone rejects you, your thoughts, your feelings, your depth, that hits different. That feels personal. Now here's the paradox that nobody talks about. The more you avoid emotional intimacy, the lonelier you get. You can have a roster of people, you can have options, you can have someone to text at midnight. But if none of them actually know you, you're still alone. And this is where a lot of girls get stuck. You're out here being confident, being free, living your life. You're not waiting around for anyone. You're doing your thing. And that's great, genuinely. But underneath all of that, there's this quiet ache. Because you know that none of these connections are real. You ever feel loneliest when you're with someone? Like, you're lying next to someone, maybe you just hooked up, and you're just empty. Not because the sex was bad, but because you realize they don't actually know you. And you don't know them. You're two people sharing a bed, but not sharing anything real. And that's the thing about physical intimacy without emotional intimacy. It might feel good in the moment, but it doesn't fill the void. Because what you're actually craving isn't physical closeness. It's to be seen, to be known, to be understood. And you can't get that without emotional intimacy. But here's where I want to be real with you. Emotional intimacy is scary because it should be. It's not supposed to be something you give to just anyone. It's not supposed to be casual because when you let someone in emotionally, you're trusting them with parts of yourself that matter. So if you've been guarding your emotional intimacy, that's not a flaw. That's you being protective of something valuable. The problem isn't that you're scared of emotional intimacy. The problem is when you start thinking that avoiding it altogether is the solution. So here's what I want you to know. You don't have to choose between being emotionally guarded and being emotionally reckless. There's a middle ground, and it's called being selective. You can enjoy physical intimacy. You can have fun. You can explore. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're using physical intimacy as a substitute for emotional connection, eventually, it's going to catch up with you because your brain knows the difference. Real intimacy, the kind that actually fulfills you, requires both physical and emotional. And yeah, that's scary because emotional intimacy means risk, but it also means depth. It means connection. It means being seen for who you actually are and still being chosen. And that's worth the risk. Now, I'm not saying you need to trauma dump on the first date. I'm not saying you need to let everyone in. What I'm saying is, stop treating emotional intimacy like it's the enemy. Because here's the truth. The reason emotional intimacy feels scarier than physical intimacy is because it matters more. Physical intimacy is fleeting. Emotional intimacy is lasting. Physical intimacy is about the body. Emotional intimacy is about the soul. And your brain knows that, so it protects you. But protection can turn into isolation if you're not careful. And isolation is lonelier than vulnerability ever will be. So, if you've been avoiding emotional intimacy because you're scared of getting hurt, I get it. But also ask yourself, what's the alternative? Keeping everyone at arm's length forever? Never letting anyone really know you? That's not freedom. That's just another kind of prison. And I know you're strong. I know you're independent. I know you don't need anyone. But wanting connection doesn't make you weak. Wanting to be known doesn't make you needy. It makes you human. So here's my challenge for you. Next time someone asks you a real question, how are you really feeling? What's going on with you? Don't deflect. Don't laugh it off. Don't change the subject. Just try. Just a little bit. You don't have to tell them everything, but tell them something. Because the truth is, emotional intimacy isn't about being reckless with your vulnerability. It's about being intentional. It's about choosing the people who've earned the right to see the real you. And once you find those people, the ones who don't judge you, who don't make you feel like you're too much, who actually get it, that's when emotional intimacy stops feeling scary and starts feeling like home. Now, let's be honest about something else. A lot of us have been conditioned to think that being emotionally available makes us too much, that showing feelings makes us weak, that needing connection makes us desperate. And that's bullshit. You're not too much for wanting to be seen. You're not weak for wanting emotional intimacy. You're not desperate for craving depth. You're just human. And the people who make you feel like you're too much for being real, those aren't your people. The right people won't make you feel like you have to shrink yourself emotionally just to be palatable. The right people will meet you where you are. So if you've been dimming your emotional needs to make someone else comfortable, stop. If you've been pretending you don't care when you do, stop. If you've been keeping it casual when you want something real, stop. Because here's the thing, physical intimacy without emotional intimacy will leave you feeling empty every single time. And you deserve more than that. You deserve to be seen, to be known, to be chosen for who you actually are, not just what you look like or what you can offer physically. And yeah, that requires vulnerability. And vulnerability is scary. But you know what's scarier? Spending your whole life hiding. So if this hit home for you, if you've ever felt like physical intimacy is easier than emotional intimacy, you're not broken. You're not damaged. You're not doing anything wrong. Your brain is just trying to protect you. But protection can turn into avoidance, and avoidance can turn into loneliness. So the question is, are you protecting yourself or are you hiding? If you want to understand the full psychology behind why emotional intimacy feels so scary, and if you're someone who thinks deeply, feels deeply, and wants to understand why you are the way you are, hit subscribe. I make content for the girls who are done pretending. The ones who want real conversations, not surface-level fluff. Thanks for being here. And hey, you're allowed to want more than just physical connection. You're allowed to want to be known. And the right person, they'll want that too.